Hello and welcome to this channel of mine that is all about community medicine. And today I am going to share with you all the most requested video in the recent times, that is the ultimate guide to community medicine practical examination. Because for many of you the exam fever is on. And today I am going to share with you the different spotters, the possible problem cards, the epidemiological exercises, the statistical exercises, and along with you in the description box, do check it out. I'll be sharing the links for decoding the grand viva, how to face the family table, as well as all relevant details that you need to go through. So what are we waiting for? Let's begin. In the problem card, the most commonly given problem cards are about dog bite, where you need to identify the category of dog bite and comment on the prevention and management based on it. So do take care to not to categorize the bite in a wrong fashion. And one of the most important things to remember is, because problem card is usually distributed in two parts, the marks. That is 5 marks goes for the written part which you are solving, and 5 marks will be based on the crossing that the examiners will be taking based on the given problem card. In the dog bite problem card, the biggest problem faced by students I've seen is, instead of saying that they have been, the given problem is about a certain category of dog bite, they tend to say, "Ma'am, oh sir, I got rabies." No, it's a strict no. Always remember that you need to mention the given problem was that of a such and such category dog bite. And then as that for the examiner asks you questions, you need to answer. Another very important thing before I go into the detailing of each of these, that is, whenever you are appearing for your practical examination, remember this is a completely an art, how you appear for it. Most importantly, you should be well turned out. You should not look as though you have walked through a storm. It is always good to look nice, proper, wearing clean apron, and your body language should be smart and confident. And make it a point, never argue with your examiners. If you have any point to express in a polite fashion and in an objective manner. Never ever argue. Now, keeping this aside, let's get to the problem card. The next problem card that is commonly given is that of anemia. This can be given in a pregnant woman, it can be given in a reproductive age group woman, it can be given in a adolescent girl. These are the usual situations of anemia that is given, and these again is, it could be due to a nutritional anemia problem card, it could be due to a hookworm infestation anemia card. So based on that, in either of the cases, you have to mention the management, and in case of prophylaxis, you have to follow the Anemia Mukt Bharat, and in case of therapeutic, you have to follow the therapeutic guidelines. And remember, in case of hookworm anemia, only the correction of anemia through the iron and folic acid supplementation, depending on the severity, that is oral or parenteral, won't be sufficient. In the nutritional anemia, you have to mention the intake of iron and vitamin C rich, locally available, affordable, and culturally acceptable food items. So have a good check at these kind of food items. And the hookworm anemia, you also need to mention the need for deworming along with the banning of any kind of open air defecation, as well as not to walk in barefoot, to use slippers. So now coming to another one, that is a vitamin A deficiency problem card, which usually is given in the form of either Bitot spot or night blindness. So in any of this, you first check out the age of the beneficiary. If the age of the beneficiary is any age above 1 year of age, please don't mention that at 6 months of age such and such prophylaxis is to be given, because he or she, the child, has already crossed that milestone. So keep that in mind, and remember, any beneficiary child coming with this problem more than 1 year of age, the first dose itself will be from 2 lakh international unit. And since problem card has a lot of this crossing, it is possible that the examiner will take you to different other relevant question, may ask you the vitamin A deficiency disorders, the total spectrum, what are the other ocular deficiency disorders, what are the extraocular manifestations of vitamin A deficiency, what is the vitamin A prophylaxis program, and things like that. And remember, in case of this therapeutic management, you have to first give a stat dose if it is more than 1 year of 2 lakh international unit. Then after 24 hours, repeat the second dose, and then after 4 weeks, repeat the third dose, and then on till 5 years of age, every 6 months, the vitamin A booster to be given. Another commonly given problem is that of malaria. It can come in the form of Vivax or falciparum. Either ways, you have to follow the latest malaria guidelines and accordingly mention the treatment, prevention or management, whatever is asked for. Diarrhea is again one of the commonly given problems. You have to have a good look at the different categorization of dehydration. There is a no dehydration, some dehydration and severe dehydration. And also look up the plans, that is plan A, B and C of management. The low osmolality ORS, why is it recommended? Why zinc is added to the regime, as well as the composition of the ORS. These are the commonly asked questions from here. Then again is like malaria, dengue is another disease which is often given in the problem cards. You have to look through all the classification as well as the management thereof. Any mention of retroorbital pain in the card, that is a straight away pointer towards the card being of dengue. Another important card is that of tuberculosis. Here the management and the categorization, you have to follow that of National Tuberculosis Elimination Program, that is NTEP, that is currently ongoing, and do not revert to RNTCP. Now coming to cold chain problems. Often problem comes like the ILR is lined with too much of ice. What is the ARM supposed to do? Do check out my previous problem card video. I will be providing the link here with to check those. Here you will also find the detailed explanation of what you are supposed to do in case you get a problem card based on missed doses of vaccine. There is a child coming up with no vaccine history at a much later age. Now coming to the epidemiological exercises. The common ones are calculation of crude death rate, crude birth rate, sex-specific death rate, birth rate, secondary attack rate, case fatality rate, calculation of relative risk, odds ratio, sex ratio. Then in the diagnostic test section, there may be sensitivity, specificity, negative predictive value, positive predictive value, calculation of incidence, prevalence, and in prevalence there may be point prevalence calculation, period prevalence calculation. it is always good to know the significance of each of these, particularly of incidence, prevalence, the relation between the two, the interpretation, in which of the cases in relative risk is calculated, in which what are the study types in which odds ratio is calculated, and at the same time you should also know the national figures for the current death rates, birth rates, sex ratio, etc. Now coming to the statistical exercises. The commonest ones are the measurement of central tendency and measurement of dispersions. There is a mean, median, mode and standard deviation. And there may be normal distribution curve interpretation, that is, what is the area under the curve, to localize the mean, median, mode on that particular graph, or interpret that which area will be if such and such percentage of the area is mentioned. There may be pie diagram. In pie diagram, please take your geometry box along with you in the examination hall, because you don't know what card you are going to pick up. And along with it, do remember, in a pie diagram, whatever calculation you're making, first you assign the percentage of the data, then multiplied by 360 degree, you get the angles, you create the circle, put the protractor on it, mark the angles. Don't put the values inside those small sections. Put the percentages outside in the periphery. Shade each of these zones with a particular either color or pencil strokes and make an index on the side of it. Give a title to the pie diagram. Don't miss on it. And in the index, you put the shades you have used in a legend form, and along with it you mention that this signifies such and such factor which you have included in the pie diagram. And based on it, you make a comment in a 1 or 2 liner that what is the interpretation of your particular visual depiction. There can be tabular representation as well. These are usually frequency table representation. Simple tables are mostly given. And then there are bar diagrams, which can be simple bar diagrams or compound bar diagrams or component bar diagrams. Depending on the question asked, you need to answer. Now coming to the tray and spotters. That is the tray containing the spotters. You may have myriads of things. In fact, depending upon the institution, there are several different spotters given. Here I have, kind of compiled some of the common ones, like the different vaccines given. And whenever you pick up the vaccines, the vaccine vial monitor is often asked, how to interpret it, what is it made of, how it functions, how will you interpret it, and then is the vaccine carrier, how many packs are required to fill up the vaccine carrier. In the vaccine carrier, how do you keep those vaccines inside a Ziploc bag, plastic Ziploc bag, and then the ice packs, the mother and child protection card, and in this context, whatever information are furnished in these cards, the growth chart, the immunization schedule, the different commonly given contraceptives are the oral contraceptive pills, the condoms, the intrauterine devices, and certain supplements like the iron folic acid tablets, calcium and vitamin D tablets, vitamin A, solution, the oral rehydration salt sachets, and many more. So let's see, at least let's go through some of them. Here you can see the mother and child protection card cover. This card is almost a comprehensive compilation for the mother and the child. It contains the unique registration details of the mother and the child. It contains the antenatal, natal, and postnatal records of this particular beneficiary. It has advices of child rearing, child feeding, developmental milestone recording sheet, growth chart monitoring, immunization schedule as received by the beneficiary. So it is very important that you know that all these functions are mentioned in this mother and child protection card. And just as you go through this mother and child protection card, it opens up a lot of arenas for the examiner to probe you, starting from the antenatal care to the natal care to the postnatal care related question. Then it may go off to the child feeding practice, the young infant child feeding, complementary feeding, then breastfeeding, advantages of breastfeeding, baby friendly hospital initiative. Actually, it opens up a huge plethora of questions. Besides the growth chart, this is also one of the important things which is opened up through this card, because it contains this growth chart both for male and female, and you may be asked to interpret each of these zones. And like this curve, you may be asked, what is the interpretation if the curve is maintaining a plateau, that is straight line, if it is deeping down, or it is on an upward curve. If it's upward curve, always remember it's good. If it's a plateauing curve, it is dangerous. If there is a deeping, it is very dangerous and it signifies growth faltering. But if there is a uniform rise, it signifies a normal growth. This particular growth chart, which you can see in this slide, is that of a WHO growth chart of weight for age in a boy child. Always look out for the icon in the top. If it's a little figure wearing a red and blue dress, that's a growth chart for weight for age for the boy. And if it's a pink frock, it's obviously for the girl child. And regarding the green zone, any plotting falling inside signifies normal growth. Any plotting falling inside the yellow zone means the child is underweight and needs to be looked out for sleeping into severe underweight or severe malnutrition. And orange zone is obviously significant of the severely malnourished, that is below the 3 standard deviations. And regarding the green zone, it is the area between the +2 and -2 standard deviation. So when we are talking of nutrition, there can be several associated questions, and you may be asked, the different ways of interpreting the nutrition status in under 5 children. One of the instruments used is this particular given picture is the Saki tape, where you need to interpret that if the child is in the healthier zone, in a danger zone, or in a borderline zone, depending on the color code given. And this contest can also bring you through that in under 5 child, what is the preferred way of weighing this child. It is usually in the community level, the Salter weighing scale, which you can see in the picture. The baby is put into a cotton bag kind of thing, and then from the still hook you can see in the bottom of the picture that bag is hung, and this upper hook is suspended from a free point. Now, another important point which can be one can go from this mother and child protection card is the national immunization schedule. Well, as you all know that this is one of the most important things without which you shouldn't be going to the exam hall. You should be having a thorough knowledge of this national immunization schedule. that is at birth OPV0, Hep B and BCG. At 6 weeks of age, OPV1, Penta1, Rota1, PCV1 and IPV1. At 10 weeks, OPV2, Penta2 and Rota2. Look this, definitely remember that 10th week we do not have PCV and IPV. PCV and IPV is repeated at 14th week. So there's a skip. Again at 14 weeks we have OPV3, Penta3, Rota3, but since there was a skip, PCV2 and IPV2. At 9 months of age, we do not have any more the measles vaccination. So do not say that. Now we have the measles rubella vaccine, that is MR1. And it is also one of the newer vaccines apart from JE. So in 9 months of age, the child is supposed to get the MR1, JE1, vitamin A first dose and PCV booster. In 16 to 24 months of age, the DPT booster 1, second dose of vitamin A, MR2, JE2 and OPV booster. At 5 to 6 years of age, only the GPT second dose booster. At 10 years of age, there can be either GT or TT. Although because of the problems concerning the diphtheria component, often the TT solely is preferred. So do watch out for these. And also in this context, there are certain very common questions in which you should go through, that what is a vaccine, what is inoculation, what is vaccination, and what is immunization. Do go through this slide properly. Make a master chart at your home or wherever, hostel, wherever you are, where you in one hand you write down the names of the different vaccines, the type of vaccine, the dose and the route of the vaccine to be given, the site of the vaccine and the time it is supposedly given. So prepare this master chart, and before entering the VIVA table, particularly go through that, because the tray will be laying in the grand VIVA table. Some important terms in this context, apart from the ones I mentioned, that is in that vaccination, inoculation, immunization and vaccine, are the catch-up, mop-up round, ring immunization, hard immunity, any adverse effects following immunization, that is AEFI, and adjuvants. Do pause the slide and go through the It is also very important to know the vaccine sensitivity, that what are the heat sensitive vaccines, what are the cold sensitive vaccine. The most heat sensitive vaccine is the OPV, and the most heat sensitive vaccine are the T group of vaccines. Now coming to another very commonly asked question whenever you will be picking up vaccines or been asked to pick a vaccine is the open vial policy of vaccines. Well, this policy pertaining to open vials refers to the multi-dose vials of OPV, DTP, DT, DT, hepatitis B and liquid formulation of Hib vaccines from which one or more doses of vaccine have been removed during an immunization session, which may be used in a subsequent immunization session for up to a maximum of 4 weeks, provided that some of the conditions as mentioned are met. So what are those conditions? Those are that the expiry date has not passed. The vaccines are stored under appropriate cold chain condition. The vaccine vial septum has not been submerged in water. A septic technique has been used to withdraw all doses, and the vaccine vial monitor, if attached, has not passed the required expiry criteria. So which are the vaccines for which open vial policy is not applicable? These are measles, BCG, JE, and in some cases yellow fever. So open vial policy is applicable to tetanus toxoid, oral poliovirus vaccine, DPT, Hep B, Penta, IPV and HIP. In this context, whenever you are faced with vaccine, another important thing you should go through is the cold chain, that how it is routed through. And vaccine carrier cannot be far behind. So this is the pic of a vaccine carrier, and usually 4 ice packs are required to keep it going. And you can keep the vaccine in it for 4 to 6 hours. And this is the ice pack. And as you can see, I have put on a blue arrow. That signifies that this is the shoulder of the ice pack, where usually the word level is written in an imprinted manner. And that is the level till which you should be filling up the ice pack to allow for the expansion of the water into ice. And along with it, you should also be knowing how to condition an ice pack, what are the different vaccines that are kept in the, this is the other side of the ice pack in this particular picture, but on the side that is placed on the table, there are 2 holes which we call the vials. So in the 2 vials, we keep the most heat sensitive vaccine, that's OPV and measles. And BCG and other are kept in the top of it. The T group and pentavalents are kept on the, never kept on the ice pack. Now, the vaccine vial monitoring is always done in most of the vaccines, and it is always a very commonly asked question by the examiner: how to interpret it, what is it made of, how does it function, how, what does it help in what way, that it signifies that if the cold chain has been maintained properly or not. If the outer circle and the inner square, the inner square is much lighter, that is stage 1, it's good to use. If the inner square has slightly darkened but still lighter than the outer circle, still good to use. If the color has matched, you can no longer use it and you have to discard it. And if the inner square has become darker than the outer circle, then also you need to discard it. In this particular slide, you can see in the middle is the amber colored BCG vaccine vial. Whenever asked, you pick it up, have a look at it, then you make an eye contact with your examiner and then say, sir or ma'am, this is a vial containing BCG vaccine. And there are several questions which will be, following this particular statement, that why is it amber colored, what type of vaccine it is, what is the dosage, what if a child comes 2 years of age and hasn't received any BCG vaccine, what are you supposed to do, what are the diseases it gives protection to, what is the strain used here, how is it given. So the one in the left hand side is the tuberculin syringe used for BCG vaccination. You can easily identify by seeing the narrow gauge of it. This is the tuberculin or BCG syringe. It is used for BCG vaccination as well as for tuberculin testing. The one vial which you are seeing on the right side of this slide is the diluent containing normal saline, which is used for constituting the BCG vaccine. So it is the diluent for BCG vaccine. And this is the vial containing diphtheria, tetanus vaccine. And this is a vial containing Japanese encephalitis vaccine. It's one of the newer vaccines. You need to know the dose, the site, the route, whatever pertaining to it, and the relevant disease conditions as well as the national program concerning it. This is a vial containing pneumococcal vaccine. Also, as you pick up any of these vaccines, you need to know the type of vaccine, the dose of the vaccine, the site of the vaccine, the route of the vaccine, when it is given, as well as the concerned national program and any little tidbits about the particular disease. This is a vial containing OPV, and it can again open a lot of questions for you, because as I said, polio always generates a lot of questions, like the one I've already mentioned, the mop-up, the ring immunity, the herd immunity, the switch, that is from the trivalent OPV to bivalent OPV, the introduction of IPV, the rationale for it, and why are we still continuing the pulse polio, and so on. And this is a vial containing the MR vaccine. That is one of the newer vaccine. That is the measles rubella vaccine. You also have to know the same things as I mentioned. This is usually a 10-dose vial which is kept in your trays, and you have also to look out for the type of the vaccine, the rationale behind the introduction of the rubella component, basically for the protection from the the congenital rubella problem, which is part of the torch. This is one of the safest bets if you are a little confused and your examiner is kind enough to give you a choice that pick up anything which you may be comfortable answering. I think it is good to have a good prep about oral rehydration salt. So you go through the composition, which elements are present in what amount, how is it constituted, how to demonstrate the mother to prepare it, what is low osmolarity ORS, what are the different classification of dehydration, how to manage the diarrheal problems, the plans A, B, and C. So the need for adding zinc, the rationale behind it. So if you can answer most of this, it makes a nicer impact. So it is a easy way of getting some marks. Now this is a vitamin A solution. Again, it's a good bet to take up and be prepared for it. That why is it amber colored? What is the prophylaxis under the national immunization schedule? And what will you give the child presents with vitamin A deficiency? And what are the vitamin A rich foods? And how you should counsel the child? How will you detect that the child is suffering from any vitamin A deficiency? The ocular manifestations, the extraocular manifestations, the vitamin A prophylaxis program, you should be completely thorough about it. And why the bottle is amber colored as well. Again, the same answer as for all other amber colored containers like BCG, MR, and the vitamin A bottle. That is, the content is photosensitive and one needs to protect it from the harmful effects of sunlight. So needs to be stored in a cool and dry place. Now coming to intrauterine contraceptive device, the IUDs. Here I have furnished a picture of TCU 380A. It's a second generation IUD. In the picture you can see there are two parts. The one straight one with a copper T on top of it with a blue guard in the middle, that is the inserter. While inserting the copper T, what you do first, you assess the uterine cavity and you decide that how much deep it is. Based on that, you set this blue guard as a safety precaution that you do not over penetrate or cause uterine perforation in the process. Then you fold down the arms of the copper T inside the inserter, put it inside the uterine cavity. Then you insert the other, the white rod you can see beside it. It has a small ring at the bottom of it, which you can see in the next pic. It's called a plunger. You put it inside the inserter and you push that intrauterine device, that is the copper T, inside the uterine cavity, and then you take out both the inserter and the plunger. Here in this context, there are certain questions that if this is a second generation IUD, what are the other two generations, that is a first and third generation IUDs, what name some, what is the basic difference between them, who are the ideal candidate for IUD, who are the candidate where you cannot give IUD, and how to check a IUD that if it is in place or not, and if the tail is missing, what is the woman supposed to do. Here you can see the end of the plunger here clearly. That ring is for the finger grip to put it inside the inserter. And this 380, 375, whatever in case of a multi-load one, is the surface area of the copper. This is the picture of an AD syringe, that is an auto-disable syringe. This is a single-use syringe. Once you use it, the plunger gets stuck and you cannot use it further. This particular vial with a strange looking nozzle, you cannot miss this nozzle. It is very specific for this vial, is that of rotavirus vaccine. It is an oral vaccine, and often you confuse the dosage of rotavirus vaccine, that is just as in oral polio, there is OPV, the dosage is 2 drops. In rota it is of 5 drops. That is the latest one. So do take care of that. So I think this will give you a comprehensive glance at what are the things that you are supposed to revise at the last moment, go through, keep in mind, and do check out the relevant study material that I've given in the description box concerning your problem cards, concerning your family. So do check them out, as well as the Grand Viva. If any other query, post in the comment section at the earliest so that I can help you out. So for now, signing out, all the best. So go and rock the exam hall. Thank you.